Welcome back to GMNC. And as promised, we have my good friend Leticia. Leticia, girl, how are you?
Good morning. How are you? Good. I'm fine. I've just been traveling again.
You've been traveling, and we missed you last week. I was like, the studio is so quiet without you.
Aww, you guys too.
So, okay, girl, I know you've traveled the world, and I'm so envious of that. And you know, I always tell you that, why didn't you take me with you? But the trip to Egypt was more of a personal trip, right?
Yes.
So can you tell us more about your trip, when you went to Egypt, what you got up to, you know, how it was? Because I know the people there are very cultural.
Yeah, no, well, actually my trip to Egypt was actually my first one as a lanes traveler.
Oh, yeah.
I have a friend of mine, she works in the travel industry, and she basically puts packages together and then she sells it to the travel agency.
Okay.
She was about to retire, and she said, well, I can help you. I said, well, what do you mean? I said, well, maybe just pick, she's very known for Egypt, so she's very like, she's done a lot of offers and packages in Egypt. So, well, you can do something different, and we can use your content.
Wow.
So she could put me in touch, and I got a special deal. So that's what I did. And the first thing I did for Egypt was to get myself, we call it a fixer. Because as a solo traveler and also a photographer, I carry gear, and it had quite, Egypt until then, it was in 2018 when I went, there was a lot of bad news on Egypt, because there was a lot of terrorist attacks, and so it kind of lost, it's such a beautiful country, and there was the travel industry was actually suffering from all those attacks. So we need to find something to refresh and make people go back to see this beautiful country. So, okay, so fair enough. And so I got everything set up, and I got myself a fixer. So I could go and take pictures to places, so I could get enough content that it was not the usual one. So I arrived in Egypt, and I was very early. I was 6 o'clock in my hotel. I'm thinking, well, I have to wait for my fixer. And I'm thinking, no, well, let's just take my one camera and just walk outside my hotel to see what's up there. And it's a city never sleeps in Cairo. It's like full on the whole 24 hours.
Wow.
And the first thing I noticed, I actually was driving from the airport, it's a chaos of unbelievable traffic. It's like camels, tuk-tuks, bikes, very, very daring pedestrians. Everything is just happening, and there's no accidents.
And the funny thing is that when I was reading your story, you said that there's less robots, but everybody knows what they need to do, you know, between the camels and the pedestrians and everybody goes in a sequence.
It's amazing. It's like one of those, the maneuver is like unspoken traffic rules. So you are coming from the airport, and it's like, am I going to make it to my hotel? Anyway, so I went and I started walking the streets, and I was in the main of Cairo, and I don't know, I took a pic of one of the side streets, and I saw two men in a little table having their tea, and they kind of wave, and I wave and say hi. So they kind of invited me, so I couldn't say no. So and they said to me, sit down for a cup. I was looking for coffee, because
that's what I was going to say. That I've never heard you talk about tea.
No, so I was you need to work out. So let me just find the Egyptian coffee. You know, just get a coffee somewhere. And there's two men, very kind. They said so the next thing I know is I'm getting poured tea, and you need to sit down. Okay. So it was very hard, because it was, one of them was a lawyer, told me he was a lawyer, could speak quite good English. And then the other one was a old gentleman, and couldn't really speak English. He's looking at me and says to me, I'm a very well-known actor. And I'm thinking to myself, you're right. You know, I just, you know, you're in the middle of the, on the side street, but anyway. So I mean, the tea was hot, so I have to stay there for a while. And it was so fun, because it was a broken English, signs, you know, and after that I had my tea, so no coffee after all. I left, and I started walking, and then I met my my fixer, and I took a selfie with this man who claims to be a famous actor. And he said, and my Mr. Time, whatever was his name, the fixer said, no, he's a comedian. He's actually well known, and he does all this series. And I thought, oh my goodness, that was funny.
And that has happened to you a lot.
I don't know what I get into. But that was, and I carried that photo everywhere I went to Egypt, because I went, so I basically visited three big cities. There was Cairo, then I went to Aswan, and then from Aswan I took a road trip into Luxor, and then again into Cairo. So, and everywhere I went and I met somebody from Egypt, I went, just to confirm, and everybody's, it's like, yeah, he's a famous actor. I'm like, okay, I should have taken his autograph.
I won't lie to you. When I heard a story like you're going to talk about Egypt, the first thing that clicked was the pyramids.
Yes. So
I want to talk about the pyramids. I want to talk about the camel ride. Take me there.
Yeah, you have to. So,
Yeah.
so basically, I talked to my my fixer, Mr. Timer. I said, look, I don't want to do like the very touristic. I mean, yes, touristic, of course, but I want to give some extra content to people to come to Egypt. So we went, of course, we went to the side of the pyramids and the Great Pyramid. And it's just, when you're there, you just, no matter how many movies you've seen, pictures, it's beautiful. It's a nice place to go.
Yeah.
So I met a group of camel handlers, if you want to call that. And I was chatting with them. I said, look, because of course they want you to right away be a tourist and take a camel ride. But I'm like, no, I don't want to do that. And it was hot. So for a long, I chatted with them for a while. And one of them, Tarif, says to me, do you want something special? I'm thinking, I wanted to show something that's not really, seen on the magazines.
Of course, yeah.
And so, okay, I'll meet you at 5 o'clock, so and so and so. And I looked at my fixer, and he's looking at me going, oh. And I'm like, well, but now we know each other, so you know where he is. So I'm sure I'll be safe. So fair enough. On that day at 5 o'clock in the afternoon, I met Mr. Tarif in the middle of the Cairo's main street, and he showed up with 2 camels. Wow. This is in the middle of the trap. I'm like, okay, what am I getting into? So I thought we were just going to go somewhere by car and then so get on. I'm like, get on. Okay. There I am getting into a camel in the middle of the street with all this traffic going. Yeah. We actually rode for about 50 minutes. Yeah. And I promise you, I done horse riding and no, there's a completely different ballgame here. I mean, it's like, okay. So and after 50 minutes, we finally got into the desert, which I thought it was going to get easier. No, it didn't. And there I go with a completely stranger and me with on my own camel following his camel. So my camel was called Daisy and his was called Mikey. Okay. And so we have actually... We rode for a bit, I don't know, for about an hour and a half, because this is slow. After we got to the top of one of the, in the desert, and there was a man also having tea with a little camper. And we stood there and we waited for the sun to set. Yeah. And the reason why he took me there is because from that point of view, you can see the pyramids. And at nighttime, they light them up. Yeah. So they get this beautiful sunset and lights coming through those pyramids. Is one of those lifetime things that you got to do. And I was blown away. But before that, we have to also sit down again, having some tea. Now there were 2 strangers. And I was just there on my own. And I mean, this happens very quickly.
That's what I wanted to talk about. So you went to Egypt for something else, and then you ended up doing something else. But as a person that went on your own as a female, what did you learn? What were the most important things before we actually go into the break? Yeah.
No, I mean, like I said, people, I want to encourage women, especially women, to travel. There is some places that are more, well, I'm not going to say dangerous, that you have to be aware of being a solo female traveler, especially with cameras. Sure. But I found that when you go with a good vibe, and like I said, a smile will open you doors, and have the instinct to say, no, okay, this is not a place where I should go further. And like I say, I had a contact. He was not always with me, my fixer, but he will be telling me, okay, don't go to that street, or stick to that, or I will take you there. So you have to have a contact in the country where you're going.
So if people want to know more about your stories, I know we're running out of time. If people want to know more about the stories, can you tell them more about your socials?
So I have a new website. Well, it's still the same name, but it's now been updated, and it's lenstraveler.net. And then, and Instagram is lens.traveler, and Facebook is also Lens Traveler. So, if you want to see what I'm up to almost every week, you can check my social media.
Well, thank you very much, Leticia Cox, folks. And we had another story that we wanted to talk about, but we couldn't talk about it. But it's important when you go somewhere, anywhere in the world, to make sure that you've got all the necessary things that you might need. Wink, wink, hint, hint. After the break, we're going to be speaking to Karen Landman, who's going to be talking to us about this beautiful machine that she's got in her shop. It's very interesting. I call it beautiful because I know I need it after the break.